If you're watching this video, you want to lose fat and build muscle. The target that my clients come to me with is to lose 20 pounds of fat plus and 10 pounds of muscle gain. The variables may be adjusted. You may want to lose more fat and you may want to gain more muscle. You may want to lose less fat and gain more muscle, whatever it may be. Those variables become adjusted to the individual. However, this video, I'm going to explain the entire structure. So number one, I'm going to explain to you how I've done this for myself. I'm going to explain how I do it for my clients. I'm going to tell you what you need to do and why you need to do it, and then I will show you how to implement it. The purpose of this video for me is to give you what every other coach is gatekeeping. I'm going to give you all that information up front. This isn't going to be a tease. I'm going to give you more information in this one video than the vast majority of coaches will give you in their entire paid courses. So what I need you to do right now is get rid of anything that's distracting you. If you're sat next to your girlfriend, go into the other room. If you are working right now, save this video and watch it later. Set an alarm on your phone. If you have no distractions and you're ready for the next half an hour, I want you to get a pen and paper and be ready to write this stuff down. So if you've done those things, let's get into it.
Okay, so to kick off this video, I'm going to explain to you where I started at and what got me into doing this. So you can know where it's coming from, what kind of experience I have in terms of what I've done for myself and also helping others. Give you a little bit of context. So this is me in February 2017. This is me in November 2017. Now, I started my journey 2 months after this. So the transformation is 7 months. And the difference is 30 pounds. And it's pretty much all upper body. Because back then I didn't train legs, as most of us don't. But I came to learn in the future that it was definitely an important thing. Now, how did I get to the point where I was at 5'8" and 117 pounds? And you can see my bones in my back. The back is one of the most muscular areas of your body, and for some reason, you can see my bones in it. Now, it's not uncommon to see a spine. That's normal. I can still see my spine now. There's muscles around it. You can see those perfectly well. But the difference in the amount of bones that you can see the scapular bones. And 117 pounds, 50-ish kg, 5'8". This is a below healthy weight. I'm at the point where I can't do push-ups anymore. Now, I say anymore because I wasn't always this weak. I was always this skinny, but I wasn't always this weak. I really had got weak. I grew up playing a lot of sports, and as somebody who has not a fast metabolism, but a high output, playing a lot of sports, moving around a lot of time, being a very fidgety individual, I had a high NEAT, which is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Basically, I didn't eat to support my body, and this happened. It got to the point where muscle was lost. I didn't have much built up anyway, but I got to the point where the strength diminished so much that I couldn't do push-ups. And that is very abnormal for someone of a low body fat percentage. So I knew it was about time to make a change. I'd always been playing sports, but I'd never been in the gym, really. At 18 years old, I thought it was about time to make some changes. And I look at people now who are 18 years old and they've already made 50 pounds of muscle gain. I'm like, oh my God, when I was 18. And it's hard to look back at that. Luckily, I got so low that I made a drastic change and turned everything around. And sometimes it requires you going that low, because maybe if I had 10 pounds more muscle, I'd have never wanted 30 pounds more. So that's where I started. Now, my approach was learn, learn, learn. I decided to learn as much as I could. And this is all relevant because everything that I've experienced, everything I've learned through my education and through my self-education and through my experimentation and through my coaching is extrapolated into this video and how I can get you results from just watching this. So it is important to understand where I started from here, because you are going to be starting in a similar position. You're either skinny fat, skinny, overweight. Like, you've got a point where you want to either add muscle, lose fat, or both. So it is important to understand that if you're watching this, you may have not hit rock bottom yet. You don't need to hit rock bottom to make the changes, okay? Make the changes before you do, because it could be another 5 years before you really hit rock bottom. But looking back on those 5 years that you didn't spend doing anything, you'll be extremely annoyed at yourself. This is the type of progress you can make in 7 months. Now, it's the 9 months difference between that, but I didn't make any adjustments until 2 months after this. You can gain a lot. You can improve a lot, and I'm going to show you how. So the main difference that I like to cite is body weight, exercise, strength. That's the difference between these. Because you can go to the gym and do 7 months worth of workouts that I did. But if you don't improve, you won't get these results. And I promise you won't. You can go to the gym and do double the workouts that I did, because I only did 3 days a week. You can double the volume. You can even push the intensity. You'll struggle, because I was extremely intense with my training. But you will not get better results, because what I did was go from assisted bodyweight pull-ups, so bands helping me up, to 30 kilogram pull-ups. That's what I did on the training side. I did that with dips as well. I think in this period of time I got to about 25 kilograms though on chin-ups, so not pull-ups. Neutral grip chin-ups, 25 kilograms in 7 to 9 months, so 7 months of actual training. And dips, I got up to 40 kilograms. Dips, I started body weight. I also started a bench press of 40 kilograms, which is the bar plus 10 kilograms on each side. So for Americans, that's the bar plus 22 pounds on each side. Not much. Not much for someone who's extremely athletic. So my athletic background was county level squash, pretty decent level football and cricket at these times. Played pretty much every sport. I was extremely athletic, so I never really put some thought into the fact that muscle wasn't there. So when you are starting, you've got to, number one, identify where you are, okay, with the main movements, and we will discuss that. And then your goal to go from your current state to dream state is rapid progression, okay? So we're going to discuss that a little bit next. Okay, so to look at my clients, I'm not going to give you a breakdown of all of these guys, but basically we've got built a lot of muscle, lost fat and built muscle, lost fat, added strength, lost fat and built muscle, lost fat and built muscle, lost fat and built muscle, lost fat and added a lot of strength, actually built a lot of muscle, but we'll reveal that later on. Lost fat and built strength, lost fat and built a lot of muscle, built a lot of muscle and lost fat along the way. And there's many more. Now, the thing that these guys had in common is that they progressed their bodyweight exercises. They all start on, maybe they can do push-ups, maybe they can do assisted pull-ups, and they progress all the way up. The rate of their progression dictates the rate of their results in terms of their body composition. So that's the most important thing that you could learn right now. is that if you want to have the most athletic body, you want to have muscle, you want to have lots of definition, you want to have low body fat percentage, then from a training perspective, what you need to do is go from wherever you're currently at, which means your number one goal is identify. Okay? So your number one target is to identify where you're currently at, and then move yourself progressively, weekly, to your goal state. Okay? So, the first thing that you can do right now to take notes on is identify where you're at. So, your main exercises, what are they going to be? They're going to be the push-up, they're going to be the dip, they're going to be the overhead press, they're going to be the chin-up, the cable row, it's going to be the Bulgarian split squat, Romanian deadlift, and the hanging leg raise. Those are all the movements you need. Now, when you start talking about having extra goals, when you start moving from a beginner to an intermediate, and if you are watching this video, I promise you're a beginner. You could have been in the gym for 5 or 10 years, I don't care. If you are not able to control your body composition and you are not able to progress to high levels of strength compared to your body weight, so that means pull-ups with weight added, dips with weight added. If you're not able to do that, you're a beginner. So you need to identify where you're currently at. You need to take these exercises, and you must, with these, you must nail the technique and then progress them. Okay? When you become an intermediate, when you hit certain standards for these movements, you can start looking at adding more advanced movements in with them. But there is absolutely no reason why you would do that beforehand. Okay? Now, the second thing is what we don't want to do is machine exercises. If you were to progress a machine exercise, you are not going to have any sort of carryover to your body weight. Sorry, in terms of your body weight exercises. So if you get really strong with a machine press, you are not going to get very strong with push-ups. However, if you get very strong with push-ups, you will get strong with machine presses. So there's a difference in carryover. Now, another factor we must look at is synergy of exercises. You want to lose fat and build muscle. All of these guys, they've lost fat and built muscle. The reason they've done that is due to exercise selection. Not alone, but that's one of the reasons. And so if you were to pick, let's say you were to pick the machine exercises, or you were to use a barbell exercise, for example. Barbell exercise, the issue with it is that if you come in at 300 pounds, you are going to be stronger than someone who's 150 pounds, even if they have been trained for quite a while, because mass moves mass to a large degree. And if we are allowing mass to move mass as a way to progress, you will progress in terms of your lifts. But as your body fat comes down due to your nutrition and your outside exercise, it's going to be harder to make those progressions, which limits your ability to build muscle along the losing fat journey. Okay, and it may actually subconsciously cause you to eat more because you don't want to see a decrease in strength. However, if we utilize bodyweight exercises, our strength is going to increase as our muscle mass does. Because we're able to progress at a much higher rate as our body fat comes down, we are going to build muscle at a quicker rate. Hence why I was able to go from assisted body weight all the way up to 30 kilograms. Hence why Jabari over here was able to go from bodyweight pull-ups all the way up to, I believe it was 20 kilograms on chin-ups. Huge transformation. Now, you can see these videos you can see the videos of my individual case study transformations for clients on the YouTube video if you want to watch those. I break them down how they've done them. But this is consolidating all of the information that we have in one. So you know what we're going to do, and you know why we're going to do it when it comes to the training aspect of things. However, you're probably thinking, well, how do I progress? It's easier said than done. Even if a light bulb isn't going off in your head right now, you may be like, well, I know I need to progress. I'm glad that you told me that I need to progress these movements, but I don't know how to progress them. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a couple of things that you need to be able to do. Number one, you need to video yourself. I have had this discussion with many people about personal trainers. Personal trainer has the benefit of being able to shout at you and make you do something, push you to an intensity, and they can also correct your technique, and a lot of people think that's what they need. However, the TV show The Biggest Loser is the prime example as to why that does not work. Because even though you get the short-term results, as soon as that external factor, that extrinsic factor, the extrinsic motivation is taken away from you, you no longer adhere to the principles because you never learned to do them yourself. And so the first thing that happens is you don't push as hard. Second thing that happens is when you haven't got an individual correcting your intensity when you're trying to progress, you don't know whether your technique is correct because you never had that kinesthetic feel for it. And what I mean by this is if you, let's say you're playing a sport, and let's say golf, for example. You don't have to be a golf player to be able to do this. If you watch a video on a golf swing, and that golf swing shows you how to do it correctly, there's the techniques to do, and it shows you what a lot of people do wrong and the corrections for it. Okay, it gives you all the information you need. If you then go and perform that golf swing and try to copy it, the first thing will happen is you'll probably get it wrong. Okay? And then you'll think, okay, well, he said do this, 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 and this. And you'll improve those factors the more you do it because you are taking the information and applying it yourself. However, you still will not get there 100% of the time because you haven't actually seen yourself doing it. And this is the problem with a personal trainer. They don't show you doing it. They just make the adjustment. They move your body, or they say do this or do that. And so you have never developed that kinesthetic feedback. Okay? And it is so important because this is why with a golf coach, for example, they may fix your swing, and then over the months you will bastardize it, and it will get worse and worse and worse because you are losing little bits and bobs. Now, the way to fix that is to record yourself. You record what you're doing, you use the informative videos that you have been provided, and then you make the adjustments to it. And in the case of my clients, when they don't know how to do it, when they haven't been able to make the correct adjustments to it, they just send me the videos and I tell them what to do, and then they re-implement it. But they are the ones learning. I'm not forcing it on them. It's akin to someone saying, a teacher just making you, telling you the answers for your test. You have to go out, learn the answers to the questions, and then apply them in the test. Not have the teacher tell you what the answers are, because you never learn it when you're outside of that class. So, in this situation, let's say we're doing an audit curl, I still video myself. Now, the reason it works so well for me is because I know what I'm doing. In a coaching program, I teach my clients to know what they're doing so that when they're not working with me in the future, they can still look at their videos, they can apply critical thinking, they can make the improvements themselves. Now, with you, what you're going to do is do an exercise, look up the exercise, have the pointers on how to do it and what not to do, execute that, video it, and then with that information, you can then make the adjustments. Does it look right? No. Okay. Why does it not look right? Well, my hips are sinking. Okay, why are my hips sinking? Because I'm not activating my core. Yes, you need to have the information up front, so you need to have all the videos explaining what's right and what's wrong to be able to make that adjustment. But if for example, if you join my program, you'd be able to do that immediately, but I'm sure that there's information out there if you look up on YouTube. I share enough of it for free anyway that you can be able to break down the exercise and then implement the improvements that need to be made. Now, the final reason this is so important is because it closes the feedback loop. Instead of figuring it out over the course of months and maybe even years, or even quitting, which most people do, you figure out in one session. You video, you try again, you adjust, you video, try again, adjust. Okay? Now, a lot of exercises like a pull-up don't need that. They don't need the technical adjustments. But it is important to video yourself once in a while because as you're progressing, the body will expose weaknesses. Does that make sense? So when you're doing a pull-up, as you add weight, you're going to find that a certain part of that movement becomes slower. It's called an involuntary tempo change. So you may find that at the top you're not able to get all the way, but you could do it from the bottom. That indicates that the biceps are the weaker part through the movement pattern, and therefore you need to make an adjustment to strengthen the biceps. That may be a technical adjustment in the moment, or it may be a switch in the exercise adjustment. There's plenty of different things you can do, but you must know what the problem is. If you don't know what the problem is, you're going to start to regress. You're going to start to go backwards, or you'll start to overcompensate with the wrong muscles, which will lead to injury. So, what have we learned here so far? Number one is to identify where we're currently at, with the goal of making progression to a certain standard. Number two, we've identified which exercises that we want to do. Which exercise is going to give us the main bang for our buck. And number three, we've identified how we're going to make massive progression on them. We're going to identify the skill, and then we're going to make sure that we've got the breakdowns of the exercises, understanding how to do them, and then we're going to apply that skill to the movement. And then when we've applied that skill to the movement, we're going to video it, and we're going to see where did we go wrong, where can we make an improvement, and the next set you're going to make that improvement until the technique is perfect. Certain movements like a chin up, it won't take very long. Other movements like a Romanian deadlift, it will. It'll be a little bit harder, depending on your exercise history. Now, why is this so important? Number one, it's going to allow you to exponentially increase your rate of progression. You are starting on a stronger foundation now. You're not going to get injured because you're starting on a correct foundation. You're activating the muscles which need to work. You can then take it to failure without risking injury and actually working the muscle groups so it will actually build. That should all be quite obvious to you. But the biggest reason to do it like this is because as soon as you have someone else do it for you, that learning process will take a lot longer. Now, if you intend to have a personal trainer by your side for the rest of your life, that's cool. The other reason you shouldn't, you could do it with a friend. You could have a friend tell you, but it's the same problem. You never see it. You never connect what it looks like when you're doing it to make the fix. So again, with the golf swing, if you were to video yourself doing what the coach told you to do with the good swing, now you have an example video of what it should look like. So next time you start whacking it right or whacking it left or topping the ball, you can then video it and be like, my head's coming up, that's the problem. I can see the difference in these videos. And then you start to learn what it feels like to do what you're seeing. Okay? Now this is massively important because this is why people don't progress weight, because they're not able to replicate the skill of the movement body weight to adding weight. And if you don't add that weight, you never get the results in terms of lifting weight, in terms of improving muscle mass, adding muscle mass, because muscle mass does correlate with your ability to build strength through a certain intensity and volume. So I'll say that again. Muscle mass correlates with your ability to build strength through a certain intensity and volume. Okay? So now you have the strategy in terms of adding strength. So your goal has to be to reach standards. So being able to first get to body weight on these exercises and then start adding weight to it. If you can get to 10 kilograms, that's the first checkpoint. 20 kilograms, the next checkpoint. That's with the chin ups. 30 kilograms, next checkpoint. You will really struggle to get to 20 kilograms without building a massive amount of muscle. And this is why I can make a promise that you're going to build 10 pounds of muscle in 6 months, because I did 30. So I actually like to shoot lower. Rather than saying, you're going to build 30 pounds of muscle like I did. I've got clients who did that, but just because some clients were able to execute 100% doesn't mean that I'm going to say you're going to build 30 pounds in that first 7 months. You're probably not, because you've got to be able to, it's also about your attitude towards execution. So if you do all these things correctly and you've got decent genetics, of course you will. But what I like to be like is, however bad your genetics are, And however low skill you are with physical movements, if you take action, push to the intensity, and improve on your technique as guided, you will make progression, and therefore your body must build muscle and lose fat, because you won't find an obese guy doing chin-ups. Promise you that. It's not possible. Okay? The amount of strength you'd have to build to fight off the dead weight on your body and pull yourself up is too much. So that's why it's synergistic to lose fat and build muscle at the same time. Okay? So this is from the physical side. Now we're now going to move on to the nutrition. Okay, so welcome to my Instagram. If you'd like to see more testimonials and transformations, I have way too many here. Hopefully I'll show them. But basically, yeah. Okay, so we've got our testimonials and all that. You can come and watch this. It's George Dobson Fit. However, what I want to share with you today is a little bit about nutrition. So, again, our goals are to lose fat and build muscle, right? You want to lose fat and build muscle. And I've given you the training blueprint, what you need to do in terms of training. Now, if you do all of that, it doesn't work without the nutrition, because you're not going to make progress towards lifting weights, lifting your body weight, if you aren't doing what you need to do with nutrition. So, why is nutrition so important? I'm going to share with you a few things that a lot of people leave out with their nutrition coaching. Again, I promised that I would show you more in this video than most coaches are giving away in their actual programs. So, first thing we need to realize is there is a metabolic effect of food. It's just not as big as what you may think it is. But it is important to recognize. So, let's say that the foods that we're eating all have the same calories. We understand that calorie intake is the driving factor of fat loss. We all have a maintenance calories, and the first step that we're going to do is exactly like the training, is identify. We're going to identify how many calories our body needs to maintain itself. Okay? And if you were to take 500 calories off of that number every single day for 1 week, you would lose 1 pound of fat in that week, because 1 pound of fat is equal to 3,500 calories. Okay? And 3,500 calories is divided by 7,500. So 500 off every single day, and you will lose fat. Okay? Now, the issue becomes when you want to lose fat faster, how do we optimize this? Do we want to eat crap? Do we want to eat this kind of food here? Chicken waffles with bacon and maple syrup on them? Do we want to prioritize these foods? No. Okay? Are we allowed to consume them? Of course. But if you were to eat McDonald's or something like this every single day, what's going to happen? You're going to crash. Your energy is not going to be so good. Why is that going to be? The carb intake of these types of meals is so high that insulin is going to shuttle in large amounts the blood glucose into the muscles, and it's going to leave you with zero blood sugar, and you're going to crash, and that's what happens. Now, we're not talking from a diabetes standpoint, we're talking from simply an energy standpoint. If your energy is very low, are you moving as much? No. Okay, so NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, is going to naturally be lower. And we can actually observe that people who are very fidgety can burn up to 1,800 calories more per day just by being fidgety. Now, the only way that we can replicate these factors is by being high energy. And there are a few things that we can do to be high energy. And number one, the most important, is nutrition. Number two is sleep. Now, I'm not going to give you a lecture on sleep. You need to sleep more. And you cannot assume that if you are not sleeping, that you can still get these results. If you're not sleeping properly, you can still get these results. You can't. Okay? Now, most of my clients are extremely busy, so before you start saying, I don't have the time, I work with software engineers who work 10 hours a day. often on the good day, they're still on call, and they still find the time. So that's something I go over massively in one-to-one coaching, but it is extremely one-to-one, so it would be futile for me to explain how to sleep because you know how to sleep. But making individual adjustments is fitting into your lifestyle structure, and maybe that's another video. But what we're going to go through right now is the entire structure for nutrition. We've already gone through the stuff for training. I hope you've been taking notes. So we know how to create a calorie deficit, and we know that if we eat the correct foods from a thermogenesis standpoint, we're going to be burning more calories through the day because we're eating foods which keeps us higher energy. Okay, now that's two of the factors. Another factor is our hormonal health and metabolism. Okay, this comes from nutrient dense foods. If you are eating foods which are nutrient dense, which is your steak, salmon, eggs, fruits, those are predominantly most of them. Vegetables have their place, but they don't have a large amount of the water soluble, fat soluble, certainly not fat soluble, and minerals that we're actually looking for. They have them, but just in such small quantities. And we don't want to overconsume on vegetables because it's not realistic and it doesn't really agree with most people. So what we want to do is make sure that we're getting our fat soluble vitamins from steak, salmon, and eggs. We want to make sure that we're getting our water soluble vitamins from a plethora of different fruits. And we want to make sure that we're supplementing when necessary. Someone who's a vegetarian or a vegan definitely needs to supplement. However, when we get these foods, they support our testosterone, they support our general hormonal health, and they allow us to replenish a lot of the things that we burn during exercise, because we burn micronutrients as well as macronutrients and glycogen and things like that. So you will find that your energy is massively boosted, and it doesn't just extrapolate to, oh no, I can move more, and as I've just mentioned, having a higher NEAT. It's also going to contribute to our testosterone. So whenever you're in the gym, if your testosterone is just higher because you've been consuming better, you're going to find that by doing that, you're building more muscle for what you're doing. If your testosterone is higher, your mental health is going to be improved, which means you are more motivated to go to the gym. You're more motivated to do extra cardio in fun, active ways, which is how I recommend to do it. You are more motivated to eat healthier food because you've got that positive reinforcement that the food that you're eating is great. Now, this sounds awesome, right? And that's why people who are in my situation, my clients now, and many people in the world who are fit are eating healthy. A lot of them are shouting down and saying, just eat healthy. It's not that easy because you haven't had the positive reinforcement of knowing what it feels like to eat 80% of what you're eating from high quality nutrient dense foods, and then 20% just to enjoy yourself. Okay? So how do you get to that point? And it's number two. The second thing that we're going to do is elimination diet. I have all my clients do a 2-week elimination diet. All they're allowed to eat is steak, salmon, eggs, berries, fermented foods, and leafy greens and cruciferous vegetables. They're allowed to have things to make it taste a little bit better, so dry powders, olive oil, and butter. But aside from that, nothing else. No protein powders, no chicken, certainly no vegetable oils or seed oils, canola oil, anything like that. Certainly no sugar. Now, this is hard. This is horrible. But for 2 weeks, what's going to happen is your inflammation is going to go right out of your body. We're going to pair it with intermittent fasting. You're going to get a lot more creative with your meals because you can't just spam chicken for protein. You're going to start to develop a discrepancy in how you feel. The first week's horrible. The second week, you start to not miss the foods that you were spamming a lot before. So the reason I say 2 weeks is because you must have a light at the end of the tunnel. If you did that for 12 weeks, you wouldn't be able to stick to it. And it would be more me an external factor forcing you to do it, and then as soon as I'm gone, you'll revert back. We have to be realistic. 2 weeks, anyone can do it, and what that does, it builds confidence that you can go against what you want to do, and you can build that discipline muscle. So in those first 2 weeks, we've created the discrepancy between what foods you're used to and what good food tastes like and how good food feels. We've also desensitized you to resensitize you, sorry, to sugar. So a lot of time people don't even find fruit sugary anymore. It's nature's desserts. You will find it sugary after this, but you'll also start to feel good, and then you can start reintroducing foods. And if those foods become problems, they cause inflammation, they cause you to feel dreadful, they cause you to overconsume on your calories, you simply take them out or portion control them. Reintroduce other foods, see how they go. That's how you are going to control your nutrition. You're going to find that your hormonal health increases. You're going to find that your calorie deficit is extremely easy to stick to because you are secreting leptin, which tells your body you're full. You're going to find that you're getting all the nutrients you need, so your energy is great, and then you're going to be in the deficit, so you're going to lose fat. You're going to be in a larger deficit because you're also moving more by nature, and therefore you're going to lose fat at a lot quicker rate. Okay, so that's training covered, that's nutrition covered. You've got to understand that there is a high individual aspect to this, so I can give you the general advice in this, and you can adapt that to yourself, and you'll be able to take action and progress. It comes down to being in a calorie deficit with a high nutrient intake. For protein, you must be at 0.8 grams per pound of body weight minimum. For lifting, you must be able to progress your body weight movements from where you are to standard number 1 body weight, to standard number 2 10 kilograms added on chin up, standard number 3 20 kilograms, and so on and so forth. And you will, when you do these things, you will get the results. It is a scientific process, luckily. It's not how does our body react to it. It's you get what you put in. Now, the last thing for us to discuss, and the vast majority of what my coaching is the mentality side of things. For you to be able to make these improvements, you have to take action and you have to provide feedback. If you're providing feedback to yourself, you know how to do that with the training. You also must do it with the nutrition, which means you must be tracking. The more that you track in terms of yourself and your results, your day to day. So this is your weight, your food, your exercises, your positive habits. The better you're going to get. So first thing you must do for your mentality is tracking, because if you are not aware of what's going right and what's going wrong, you can't make adjustments. Okay? And that's why people go 3-4 months without making a change, because they don't know what's right and what's wrong. The second thing that we must do is keep KPIs. I mean, this is tracking, but it's tracking of your habits, it's tracking of your process goals. I've had many people come to me and say they get scared of the scales. They're sick of looking at them and having their mentality and their mood change by whether it's up or down. And I have been through the same. When I was adding, building that muscle, I was addicted to looking at the scale, hoping to see what I wanted to see, which was the weight going up drastically. But I also didn't like adding any fat. So it was a stressful period of time for me. So what I have people do is focus on the process goals, what you are doing, which is going to definitely deliver you the result. So when we're talking about mentality, we want to build the discipline muscle. The discipline muscle is part of the brain which allows us to overcome adversity, which allows us to do the boring thing over and over again for the long-term results. It's delaying immediate gratification. And so there's mentality things that we can do for it. There's cold showers, there's meditation, both of which I personally do and implement into my clients where necessary. But the most important thing is decide the habits that you're going to do, keep a KPI, a key performance indicator, and track whether you're doing them or not. If you're not doing them and you see that you haven't got ticks next to everything you were supposed to do, of course you're not going to get the results. You can't be surprised by that. So for anybody who is wanting to get this result, the result being lose 20 pounds of fat, add 10 pounds of muscle at the same time, implement these habits into your lifestyle so that you've got them forever and you can continue progressing and progressing and progressing. There's a little bit of information you need to know. I have people lift 3 times a week, no more. You do not need to lift the weights more than 3 times a week. If you want to lift weights more than 3 times a week, it's because you're doing it wrong. If you want to do more than 2 to 3 sets per exercise, it's because you're not doing them higher enough intensity. I'm very much on a high frequency, high intensity way of doing things, and therefore optimizing for improvement. Now, second thing you must be able to do is source the food that you want to have. So you must be willing to follow a nutrition program which has been negotiated, let's say, between us two. So you need to make sure that you've got the correct foods, and you need to make sure that you can prepare them. It takes you 2 hours a week to prepare these foods. So if you want to get onto the system, if you want this result, and if you want to implement it into your lifestyle, and you want me to help you, my way of doing things is to, number one, do it for you, fit that into your lifestyle. So we build the plan. Number two is I'm going to give you all of my tools which I use. So we're going to utilize my tracking apps. We utilize my online course, which has every single bit of fitness information and health information broken down to bite-sized pieces. And then finally, going to have my help through the through one-to-one calls and through constant one-to-one contact over WhatsApp and Loom. So if you are someone who identifies as wanting this result over the next 3 to 6 months, then or wanting even bigger results, then message me. And I hope this video has been extremely helpful for you. If you believe that you can do it yourself, take the information and take action with it. Set yourself a target in the next 3 months based on what I've just told you. And if you haven't reached it in the next 3 months, your behavior is the problem, because this works for everybody. Okay? And if you need help, then it's important that you that you get in touch with me or someone else that you believe can implement the plan for you. Okay? So I hope you enjoyed this. If you got to the end, well done. And if you do want to get in contact with me, there's a booking link. It's important to note that the questions must be filled out, and there are limited spots for one-to-one coaching. So make sure that you fill it out well, and we can have our call, and hopefully we can start working together. I hope this helps, and look forward to seeing you soon.